All right, let's talk about something that's a massive part of healthcare, but it's almost completely invisible to most of us. We're talking about medical coding. You could almost call it the secret language of medicine, the engine that turns every single doctor's visit into data we can actually use.
So when you hear the word coding, your mind probably jumps straight to Silicon Valley, right? You're thinking of programming languages, maybe C++ or Python, things that build apps and websites. But is that what medical coding is? Not even close, actually. A much better way to think about it is as a translation service for the entire healthcare system. It's less about writing commands for a computer and way more about understanding the story of a patient's health and translating it into a universal language.
So here's the official definition for you. Medical coding is simply the process of taking all that complicated medical jargon, diagnoses, procedures, what have you, and turning it into a set of universal alphanumeric codes. The whole point is to create a standard language that everyone from a hospital in New York to a clinic in California can understand.
And here's what that translation looks like in the real world. A doctor writes down diabetes mellitus in their notes. A coder sees that and translates it to E11.9. Someone has a carpal tunnel repair surgery? That becomes 64721. See? It takes these detailed medical stories and turns them into simple, clean data points that can be tracked and sorted.
So why is this so important? I mean, you've probably seen these codes on a medical bill and thought, okay, this is just about getting paid. And you're not wrong, billing is a huge part of it. But believe me, the impact of medical coding goes way, way beyond just the bill.
It really boils down to two key jobs. The first one is exactly what you think, making sure billing is accurate so doctors and hospitals get paid for the work they do. But the second one is just as critical, maybe even more so. It gives us the vital data we need to track public health on a massive scale.
Think about it. All of this coded data gets collected and analyzed. It helps the government figure out how to budget for enormous programs like Medicare. It also lets researchers track public health trends. How do we know if flu season is getting worse this year? In large part, it's thanks to this data. And it's not just the government either. Insurance companies are all over this data. They use it to compare how much it costs to treat different groups of people. So for example, they can see what the average treatment costs are for a patient with a certain condition who smokes versus one who doesn't. It's an incredibly powerful tool for analysis.
So, how on earth do coders do this? Do they just memorize thousands and thousands of codes? Well, no, not at all. Instead, they have a very specific toolkit, basically a set of big reference books that contain all the codes and all the rules they need to do their job right.
Now, at the heart of this toolkit are three main books. You've got the CPT book, which is all about procedures, things like a regular office visit or a major surgery. Then you have the ICD-10-CM book, and that one's for diagnoses, everything from the common flu to something more complex. And last, there's HCPCS, which covers all the supplies and meds, like crutches or specific drugs.
And here's a crucial thing to understand. This field is not static. I mean, sure, there are other specialized books for things like dentistry or mental health, but the big takeaway is that these code books are updated every single year. As medicine moves forward, new codes get added for new technologies, and old codes for procedures we don't do anymore get deleted. It's a job where you are always learning.
Okay, so this all sounds pretty interesting, right? But what does a career in medical coding actually look like day to day? Let's get real about the salary, the perks, and, of course, the demands of the job. First up, let's talk money. On average, a certified medical coding specialist starting out can expect to make somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. And what's really great is that it's a solid career path that often doesn't require a full 4-year college degree.
So, let's get into the reality of the job. On the perks side, it's often a work-from-home position, which is a huge plus for a lot of people. You also get to see some absolutely fascinating medical cases, all without ever having to interact with patients directly. But the demands are serious. Accuracy is everything. A small mistake can have big consequences. There are usually strict productivity goals you have to hit, and you are bound by very strict patient privacy laws like HIPAA.
And where do coders actually work? Well, hospitals and doctors' offices are the obvious ones, but the opportunities are way broader than that. Many work for companies that specialize in just billing and coding. Others work for the big insurance companies or for healthcare vendors. Some even end up at law firms, reviewing medical cases to make sure everything was billed correctly.
So, after hearing all that, what if you're thinking, hey, this might actually be the career for me? What's the path to becoming a medical coder? The good news is, it's pretty straightforward.
Your journey really starts with just researching programs. You'll find a lot of them at community colleges and business schools. Now, the next step is super important. Make sure you choose an accredited institution. That's key. Once you finish your training, the final step is to pass a national certification exam, and once you have that certification, you're ready to go.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We live in a world that is completely driven by data. And our own health, well, that creates one of the most complex, most personal data sets there is. So it makes you wonder, right? Who's going to translate the story of our health into a language the world can use to make things better? As it turns out, that translator is the medical coder.